Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 8 Part 39 based on novel. So let's start. Under Chi Lei and the other Hall Chiefs lead, the disciples from Dao sect stopped at the western side of Unique Devil City. After instructing them to be careful while outside, everyone was allowed to proceed with their own activities. Although they were large in numbers, the Unique Devil region was quite chaotic and it was filled with all sorts of people. Hence, there would definitely be some shady individuals who were not afraid of offending a super sect. After traveling for many days, Lin Dong originally wanted to quietly train for a while. However, Ying Huan had immediately come looking for him. He was unable to endure the latter's constant coaxing and pestering, thus, he was left with no choice but to follow her. Just as they were about to leave, they met Ying Xiaoxiao and Wang Yang. Ying Huan's eyes carefully dodged Ying Xiaoxiao's when they met. The latter glanced at her with a half-smile before turning towards Lin Dong. "What a coincidence, we are also going out. Let's go together." Additionally, the treasure-seeking district in the Unique Devil City is very interesting. I am sure that junior brother Lin Dong will be quite interested. Treasure-seeking district? Lin Dong was taken aback. Unique Devil City is near Unique Devil region and there are often many treasure hunters entering Unique Devil region. They would find quite a number of treasures. However, most of these treasures are already broken. Of course, there are also some ancient objects that no one can recognize. If one has extraordinary insight, one might be able to spot some gems amongst these objects and gain a great reward. Ying Xiaoxiao explained. I heard that there was once someone who found a pure yuan treasure in the treasure-seeking district. After which, that person who sold him the treasure felt quite displeased and even attacked him in jealousy. Soon after, this issue grew out of hand and a bloody battle erupted. It is rumored that the entire Unique Devil City was disturbed and a great number of unfortunate individuals were implicated. Pure yuan treasure. Lin Dong was a little dumbstruck. Such an object would be considered as a treasure even in a super sect. Hence, he never expected that it would appear in this place. No wonder the seller would feel upset. Seems interesting. Lin Dong gradually recovered his senses. Rubbing his chin, he laughed. Some interest had indeed rose within his heart. He subsequently said, "All right. We will head to the treasure-seeking district for a stroll." The treasure-seeking district was located at the northern district of Unique Devil City, and it was one of the liveliest districts in Unique Devil region. The treasures that appeared in this place were quite decent. Of course, the prerequisite was that one possessed sufficient nirvana pills. When Lin Dong's group entered that treasure-seeking district, the loud noise from the area immediately surged over like floodwaters, causing one's eardrum to feel a piercing pain. The treasure-seeking district was extremely vast. Even though this was the case, Lin Dong could still see a frightening human traffic on the spacious streets. There were quite a number of enormous flat and smooth stones within this treasure-seeking district. A light barrier covered these stones. Some individuals that seemed to be stall owners were seated within them. Various unique and strange things were placed in front of them, attracting the attention of the passers-by. Ancient martial arts, stroking cloud great thousand palm. It is definitely comparable to a high-grade soul martial art and it only costs 8 million nirvana pills. Soul returning pill. A holy pill for healing one's injuries. As long as one still has a breath left, it will allow one to be completely revived to the pink of health. 7 million nirvana pills. Lin Dong's group wandered around in the treasure-seeking district. Upon hearing the various cries from all around, Lin Dong could not decide whether to laugh or cry. At first, they were attracted by the cries. However, they soon discovered that those so-called ancient martial arts were merely ordinary soul martial arts, and the medicinal pill only possessed a tiny healing effect. Only its name sounded mighty and domineering. As a young lady, Ying Huan enjoyed a place like this. Her body was just like a butterfly as she fluttered across the streets. Her dark black ponytail was flapping with the vigor of youth. A rather attractive sight. However, as the four of them gradually ventured deeper into the treasure-seeking district, the number of stalls slowly decreased. Moreover, the items that appeared caused shock to surface on even Lin Dong's face. The items deep within the treasure-seeking district are the genuine ones. Those who dare to hawk their wares here are all fairly skilled. Beside him, Ying Xiaoxiao explained when she saw Lin Dong's shocked expression. There are quite a number of super sect disciples here. Wang Yang suddenly said in a faint voice. Lin Dong's eyes scanned his surroundings, and he indeed discovered quite a number of humans wearing sect badges on their chests. They were all quite young and there was a similarly prideful expression on their faces. Clearly, they were the disciples sent by the various sects to participate in the great sect competition. Lin Dong merely glanced around randomly before withdrawing his eyes. He leisurely walked around and continued to observe the mysterious items that had appeared on the surrounding stones. While Lin Dong was paying attention to the two sides of the street, he faintly sensed a commotion to his front. He raised his head, and saw that there was a group of people huddled together in front of him. Faintly, a young lady's clear and angry voice could be heard. Lin Dong, Ying Xiaoxiao, and Wang Yang were momentarily startled when they heard this voice. Their eyes looked beside them, only to discover that Ying Huanhuan was no longer at their side. Immediately, they frowned slightly and quickened their footsteps as they walked towards the gathering crowd. When the Lin Dong trio entered the crowd, they coincidentally saw a young lady with a furious expression on her face. In front of her were three young men with mischievous smiles on their faces. They were holding a jade green hairpin. Meanwhile, a powerful energy fluctuation was vaguely emitted from it. It was clearly quite a decent soul treasure. What happened? Causing trouble again? Ying Xiaoxiao frowned slightly as she glared at Ying Huanhuan. I did not. I was clearly the first to see this soul treasure and had even agreed on a price with the seller. However, these three bastards suddenly interrupted and snatched the hairpin. Ying Huanhuan spoke in a manner as though she had been wronged. Lin Dong knitted his brows slightly. He looked at the three of them as his eyes quickly found a familiar badge on their chests. His eyes immediately narrowed. Yuan Gate disciples. Beside him, Wang Yang's expression immediately darkened when he heard this. He slowly took a step forward. Wang Yang? Ying Xiaoxiao? As the two most famous Dao sect younger generation members, the expressions of the two Yuan Gate disciples immediately changed when Wang Yong and Ying Xiaoxiao appeared. After which, they turned their eyes towards the man beside them, whose smile was slowly receding from his face. From the looks of it, he was clearly the leader. Ah, Wang Yang, I had thought that you had been expelled from Dao sect. It is unexpected that you can still participate in the great sect competition. The man frowned slightly. He had a flippant character. He could not resist teasing Ying Huanhuan earlier when he saw her pure and alluring manner. However, he had never expected that she was a member of Dao sect. Although things did not turn out as he had expected, he did not panic. Instead, he merely sneered at Wang Yang. This fellow is called Jiang Dao. He is no ordinary individual and is one of Yuan Gate's 8 soul generals. I did not expect to end up meeting him here. Ying Xiaoxiao softly introduced him to Lin Dong. Another of the 8 soul generals, Lin Dong eyebrows lifted slightly. He had originally thought that the other party was merely an ordinary Yuan Gate disciple. It was unexpected that this person actually possessed such a status. No wonder he did not panic when he saw Wang Yang. Return that goods and get lost. Wang Yang's eyes were dark and solemn as he slowly said. Hehe, in this place, as long as an item hasn't been paid for, anyone can buy it. Who are you to ask me to get lost? Jiang Dao's eyes turned cold while he laughed in a strange manner. Since you are not going to get lost, we can only beat you until you do so. Wang Yang slowly gripped the heavy sword on his back as his lips parted into a smile. He revealed his set of eerily white teeth as well as his killing intent. Are you going to compete based on numbers? Go ahead and try. Jiang Dao laughed coldly. He clenched his hand as a jade piece shot out. Finally, it exploded in midair. The brilliant fireworks transformed into a Yuan Gate badge. After that light symbol appeared, quite a number of rushing wind sounds were immediately heard from the sky. Numerous figures swiftly rushed over towards this place. Clearly, they were all disciples of Yuan Gate, who had seen the signal. "Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Ying Huan was clearly also being angered by Jiang Dao's domineering manner. A similar signal jade piece in her hand also shot towards the sky. As the most lively place within unique devil region, there were clearly quite a number of Dao sect disciples present as well. Hence, when they saw the Dao sect light symbol in the sky, their pupils hardened before they immediately dragged their fellow disciples, who were still shopping for items, and made a beeline towards the place where the light symbol appeared. After the members from both parties arrived, a large empty circle was formed in the area. From the looks of it, even before the great sect competition could begin, these two super sects with a deep grudge were already about to fight. The sound of wind being split was continuously transmitted from the sky. After which, numerous figures quickly landed from the sky. Finally, they appeared on two opposing sides. Within a short couple of minutes, over 100 figures stood onto both sides. This lineup caused quite a number of people to be quietly speechless. Both parties were indeed worthy of being super sects. The treasure-seeking district was chaotic and filled with various individuals. However, the commotion caused by this event was quite major. Immediately, many gazes of amusement shot over. Lin Dong observed this tense scene as he frowned slightly. Just as he was about to speak, his pupil suddenly shrunk. He abruptly raised his head as his eyes turned to the sky. A wild and violent rushing wind sound had suddenly halted at that spot. After which, a powerful figure wrapped in a bright lightning glow descended from the sky like a lightning god. Finally, he landed in front of the Yuan Gate disciples. "Ha ha, Wang Yang, a loser like you actually dares to ask my Yuan Gate disciples to get lost. Come come. You managed to escape with your life last time. This time, let me see if you still have such luck." An extremely arrogant and loud laughter rumbled and echoed in the area after the lightning figure appeared. Wang Yang's expression turned completely dark when this voice sounded out. He stared at the figure as a voice that contained a murderous desire seeped out from between his teeth. "Little Thunder King, Lei Chen." Lei Chen. When he heard Wang Yang's eerie voice, Lin Dong's pupils immediately hardened before he turned to look at the sturdy figure, not far from him that was covered by a flickering lightning glow. Was this fellow one of the three little kings, Little Thunder King? Ying Xiao faintly wrinkled her eyebrows. With a wave of her jade-like hand, a meter-long green sword appeared in a flash. At this moment, a guarded expression was present in her eyes. "Oh, looks like your Dao sect is much stronger compared to the previous time. No wonder you guys are getting more and more arrogant." The lighting glow surrounding the sturdy figure standing in the front of the Yuan Gate disciples started to withdraw. In the end, it completely scattered, revealing a rough face. Currently, a completely unrestrained look of insolence was on this face. He stared mockingly at Lin Dong and the rest as he smiled and said. There were faint and indistinct tattoos that seemed like lightning on Lei Chen's body, which gave off an exceptionally wild and berserk fluctuation, causing people to cast sidelong gazes of fear at him. Wang Yang's expression was dark, while thick murderous intent surged deep within his eyes. However, just as he was unable to resist and was about to move, a jade-like hand descended on his shoulder, preventing him from doing so. "Lei Chen, keep your Yuan Gate members in check. Don't allow them to act like hooligans and annoy others in a despicable manner," said Ying Xiao as her eyes turned icy cold. "I feel that our Yuan Gate disciples are very well behaved and there's no need to manage them. However, your Dao sect disciples should be the ones who need to exercise restraint and quit acting so arrogantly in front of our Yuan Gate," replied Lei Chen as a sliver of ridicule appeared at the corner of his mouth. Upon hearing his reply, rage and fury instantly filled the eyes of countless Dao sect disciples. Just because of this item? Lei Chen turned around and took the brilliantly sparkling jade hairpin directly from Jiang Dao's hand before casually saying, "How about this, if you all are able to snatch it from my hands, not only will I foot the bill, I will immediately ask them to leave this place. How about that?" A sinister chill appeared within Wang Yang's eyes as he grasped the black broadsword tightly in his hand. Just as he was about to take a step forward, he was once again stopped by a hand. He tilted his head and frowned as he looked at the owner of the hand. "Let me handle this," said Lin Dong as he smiled at Wang Yang. Both Wang Yang and Ying Huan were startled for a moment, before both of them frowned. Although they did not question Lin Dong's strength, Lei Chen was no ordinary individual. Lin Dong. Ying Huan was frightened by his reaction and her jade-like hands quickly grabbed onto the corner of Lin Dong's shirt. "Don't be impulsive, I don't need that hairpin." This young lady, who was previously rather indignant and would recruit other senior and junior brothers to help her in a scuffle, had a panicked expression within her big black eyes when she saw that Lin Dong was actually planning to take on Lei Chen. "I shouldn't have caused any trouble." As he gazed at the small face of the young girl that felt somewhat wronged, Lin Dong unknowingly felt slightly taken aback, before a radiant smile appeared on his face. Extending his palm, he rubbed Ying Huan's head and said, "This isn't about the hairpin. There are some matters that are inevitable and cannot be avoided." As his words faded, he looked towards Ying Xiao and Wang Yang before softly saying, "Leave it to me. Be careful." Seeing the faint smile on Lin Dong's face, both Ying Huan and Wang Yang hesitated for a moment, before they finally nodded their heads. Stepping forward, Lin Dong finally walked out from the group of Dao sect disciples under the focus of innumerable gazes from the surroundings. Right now, this area had obviously become the focal point within the treasure-seeking district. Yuan Gate and Dao sect were both super sects that held great power and prestige. Furthermore, there was a deep grudge between both parties. From the looks of it, it seemed that there was going to be a good show to watch today. At a nearby district was a pavilion. At this moment, there were two figures on the upper floors of the pavilion who had cast their attention in the direction where the group of Yuan Gate and Dao sect disciples were. The two figures were a man and a woman. The woman was in front while the man stood half a step behind. This minute difference in position obviously indicated their difference in status. Between the two of them, the most eye-catching one was naturally the woman. Dressed in a white blouse and skirt, her fine black hair showered down till her slender waist. Her skin was akin to snow and she had a pair of picturesque eyebrows. Although her face was covered by a veil, her faintly discernible figure still caused one to be unable to tear away their gazes. Her aura was proud and aloof, and if one was to look up to her, she would seem like the Ice Queen within the Moon Palace, like a goddess that had arrived in the mortal realm, a beauty that was capable of causing the downfall of a country. Such beauty and such an aura, other than Lingqing Xu, who else could it be? Beside Lingqing Xu was a handsome man. A faint smile filled his face, while unconcealed admiration and infatuation filled his gaze when he occasionally glanced at her. At this moment, the two of them had cast their gazes towards to the district in a distance. When they saw Little Thunder King Lei Chen appear, their expressions changed a little. Even Lei Chen has arrived. Although Dao sect has Ying Xiao and Wang Yang around, they will likely not be able to deal with him, said the handsome man with a smile as he watched. The people of Yuan Gate are still this domineering, said Lingqing Xu in an indifferent voice. The handsome man nodded his head before saying, "I wonder if Ying Xiao or Wang Yang will take action, Before his sentence was complete, he suddenly exclaimed in surprise before he stared somewhat in shock at the thin figure that had walked out from within the group of Dao sect disciples. "Who is that?" Upon hearing his words, Lingqing Xu looked up lightly as her eyes casually swept across the figure in the distance. In the next moment, her moving gaze instantaneously froze as an unprecedented astonished look appeared on her typically expressionless face. Her gaze was tightly fixed onto the figure in the distance, while her red lips gently parted. Her pair of jade-like hands, which were akin to lotus roots, slowly started to tighten due to the churning emotions in her heart. This figure was not unfamiliar to her. In fact, it could be said that it had left a deep imprint in her mind. Lingqing Xu knew that perhaps she would forget many things over her life, however, she would never forget this figure. 5 years ago, on the peak of that small Great Yang Empire, that dialogue between them still reverberated within her mind till this day. When Lingqing Xu heard that familiar name after the end of the 100 Empire War, the shock within her heart was something beyond her imagination. That abnormally delicate and frail youth from back then had actually managed to walk step by step to such a stage. She clearly knew Lin Dong's background. In the past, even someone like Ling Langqian was able to easily oppress him in the ancient tomb. For him at that time was perhaps just an existence that was akin to ant in the eyes of many. It was because she was clearly aware. That explained the level of shock she felt when she knew that Lin Dong had stepped into the eastern Xian region. She knew how much effort the delicate but abnormally determined youth had to put in to reach such a stage. In a period of 5 years, that immature and feeble youth that she previously knew had truly emerged from his cocoon. That year on the mountain peak, she once said that the two of them would never meet again in the future. It was also that same year that the youth left his parents and started on his journey with a marten and a tiger. Nobody knew how much he had experienced, and nobody knew how many times he hovered at the gates of death. 1 year ago, she had suddenly heard that foreign and yet familiar name again. The youth at that time had used his own way to catch up to her. Right now, the youth that had undergone a complete metamorphosis had now reappeared in front of her. Furthermore, he could stand proudly in front of her as one of the most outstanding younger generation members in Eastern Xian region. Lingqing Xu gazed at the youth that had walked out from the group, as the red lips under her veil pursed tightly. The youth had used his own hard work and effort to finally refute the firm opinion she had about him. The current him was no longer that young wolf that spared no effort to run along the path of the strong. He had already transformed into an eagle as he soared into the vast skies. The current him was no longer afraid of the halo around her that made him unable to look straight at her. Lingqing Xu gently took a breath of air, before quietly staring at the thin figure walking towards Lei Chen. Since you have arrived at this place, let me see exactly how far you have come. Under the attention of the surrounding onlookers, the youth slowly walked out from within the group of Dao sect disciples and stood at a position not far from Lei Chen. There was no fear on the youth's face. Instead, a smile had appeared. Who is he? Numerous people in the surrounding crowd were somewhat shocked as they watched Lin Dong walk out. They had originally assumed that the person to take action would be either Ying Xiaoxiao or Wang Yang. After all, amongst the Dao sect disciples, only the two of them were qualified to cross blows with Lei Chen. It was clear that the youth before them was not someone they recognized. Wang Yang, letting a newcomer do your dirty work. Do you think that I'm a merciful and benevolent person? Mocked Lei Chen after he shot a glance at Lin Dong. Upon hearing Lei Chen's words, the Yuan Gate disciples behind him started to roar with laughter while they shot ridiculing glances at Lin Dong. Dao sect's Lin Dong, please treat me well, said Lin Dong with a faint smile as he cupped his hands towards Lei Chen. Lin Dong? Upon hearing this name, it was obvious that Lei Chen was startled, while the roaring laughter from the Yuan Gate disciples immediately died down as they shot astonished looks at Lin Dong. From their appearance, it was obvious that they had heard of this name before. He is the Lin Dong that defeated Yao Ling, exclaimed Jiang Dao in shock. So you do have some reputation. Lei Chen was slightly startled, however, he regained his wits in the next instant. With a faint smile, he extended his hand. At the center of the palm was the jade hairpin that was emitting a faint fluorescence. I am somewhat interested in you. Since you want to stand out, I'll give you the opportunity to do so. As long as you are able to snatch this from my hand, what I've said previously will still stand. Lei Chen's eyes were glued onto Lin Dong, while the corners of his mouth pulled back slowly to form a chilling arc. However, I have to remind you that if I, Lei Chen, were to take action, I will definitely not show any mercy. In the case whereby you are beaten to death or crippled by me, you can only count yourself unlucky. Hearing those words, Lin Dong merely smiled. However, an icy cold chilling intent started to surge out from within the depths of his eyes. As the two stood and stared at each other, the surrounding onlookers immediately retreated and formed an expansive circle with the two of them within it. In the next instant, innumerable curious gazes focused on the both of them. Everyone wanted to see what methods the new disciple from Dao sect would use to snatch that hairpin from Lei Chen, one of the 3 little kings of Yuan Gate. Lin Dong, please be careful, said Ying Xiaoxiao somewhat worriedly as she stared at Lin Dong's back. Lin Dong gently nodded his head. Soon after, he no longer hesitated and took a step forward. In the next instant, his eyes suddenly turned serious as boundless Yuan power swept out from him. His figure transformed directly into a shadow and shot straight at Lei Chen. From the looks of it, he was actually going to confront Lei Chen head-on. His courting death. Looking at Lin Dong's action, a few Yuan Gate disciples immediately started to laugh and comment sarcastically. Lin Dong's strength was merely at the 7 Yuan Nirvana stage. Even if his combat prowess was extraordinary, Lei Chen was much stronger than Yao Ling. Even Ying Xiaoxiao, Wen Yang, and the rest wrinkled their brows upon seeing Lin Dong's actions. However, they did not say anything. They had a rather good understanding of him and knew that Lin Dong would not act thoughtlessly. Since he had chosen to do things in this manner, he must have taken everything into consideration. As the shadow rapidly grew larger in Lei Chen's eyes, a cold grin appeared on his face. In the next moment, a resplendent lighting glow appeared once again on his body. The berserk Yuan power fluctuation that erupted was far stronger than any ordinary 9 Yuan Nirvana stage practitioner. You are quite fast. It's a pity that such a thing is useless against me. Words of ridicule rang out from Lei Chen's mouth before his face suddenly turned chilly. Taking a step forward, the resplendent lighting glow fluctuated wildly before transforming into a lighting lion head on his fist that raised its head and roared at the skies. Thundering lion fist! Lei Chen's fist rumbled forth, immediately causing a deep lion's roar and the sound of thunder to spread outwards from his fist. A lighting glow fluctuation that was visible to the naked eye swept forward, causing the ground to instantly crack into a web-like network of fissures. Lei Chen's attack was quite vicious and he did not have any intention of going easy on Lin Dong. If his fist was to connect, even a 9 Yuan Nirvana stage expert would suffer serious injuries. Both of them were extremely quick and violent. In less than a breath's time, the two figures collided violently like two meteorites. In such a collision, it was obvious that Lin Dong would be in a disadvantage since Lei Chen's fist was sufficient to completely wreck him. However, facing this absolute disadvantage, not a trace of panic was present on Lin Dong's face. His black pupils were still calm and limpid without showing any signs of being disturbed. The berserk lighting glow from the lion fist grew rapidly in size within Lin Dong's eyes. Just as everyone's hearts were abruptly raised in anticipation, a strange smile appeared at the corners of Lin Dong's mouth. His hand suddenly formed a weird seal before a fluctuation started to erupt. Just as the thundering lion fist was about to hit Lin Dong's chest, it strangely froze. It merely froze for an instant, however, when experts fought, an instant was enough to determine the victor. Just as the glowing fist was about to condense, Lin Dong's body had flashed past Lei Chen's like a phantom. Bang! Just as the two figures crossed each other, an unusually low and stuffy sound suddenly rang out. In the next moment, the pupils of the innumerable people in the surroundings instantaneously contracted. They were overwhelmed with shock that had crawled out from the depths of their eyes. This was because they saw Lei Chen's face suddenly turn red after the two figures crossed paths. In the next moment, an incomparably enormous force exploded on his chest, causing him to fly backwards. In the end, he slammed heavily against a gigantic boulder. The frightening force caused the entire boulder to shatter into pieces. The entire place was deathly silent. The originally mocking expressions on the Yuan Gate disciples instantly turned sluggish. They stared blankly at the peculiar scene before them. They simply could not understand what had occurred when the two figures crossed paths with one another. The one who should have been sent flying should have been the brat from Dao sect. This? Ying Xiaoxiao, Wen Yang, and the rest were all similarly stunned by this sight. Even they had no idea what exactly had happened in that instant. The originally explosive fight appeared to have been stifled by this strange situation. Amidst the deathly silence, one gaze after another that was somewhat overwhelmed in shock moved and focused on the skinny figure that had crossed by Lei Chen. At this moment, there was not a single injury on his body. It was as if the berserk fist of Lei Chen had not even touched his body. Bang! Lei Chen's sorry figure climbed out from the rubble a distance away and stood up. One could see a dark red palm print on his chest, while a furious and malevolent expression had replaced the previous expression on his face. His eyes turned scarlet as he stared at the figure in the distance before roaring, "Your father will tear you apart today." As he roared, His figure looked just like an enraged wild beast as he charged straight at Lin Dong. His fearsome murderous aura made the skin on one's scalp crawl. However, just as he had charged a dozen steps forward, he suddenly froze. That was because he could see Lin Dong, who was at a distance away, extending his hand towards him. Within his hand was a jade hairpin that sat safely while faintly blossoming with radiance, as if it was continuously ridiculing Lei Chen while it sparkled. That hairpin had already been snatched away. Every surrounding onlooker could not help but involuntarily open their mouths a little wider while the Yuan Gate disciples' eyes were wide like a drowning individual with a face filled with fright. As a breeze blew past the area, rolling up some dust which floated away, it left a group of dumbfounded people. Originally they had assumed that it would be a brilliant match. However, it had ended in such an amusing manner. Such an ending had obviously exceeded everyone's expectations, including Lei Chen's. Therefore, when he saw the hairpin in Lin Dong's hand, an incredulous expression appeared on his face. "You should pay up," said Lin Dong casually as he shot a look at Lei Chen while playing with the hairpin in his hand. His voice slowly spread, causing this entire area to turn even more quiet. At a pavilion far away, the deep and clear eyes of a cold and gorgeous lady slowly revealed a shocked expression at this instant. This video will end here.